Welcome back, everybody, to Ein Sof Learning. Today we're going to continue our series on the study of the 10 Sefirot. If you've been watching the series closely and paying attention and taking notes along the way, then you should be all caught up with where we are at right now in the Talmud Eser Sefirot. Just to give it a refresher, we're in Chelek Aleph, Perek Aleph, Talmud Eser Sefirot, in the portion of, in the portion of the Or Pnimi. Or Pnimi means the commentary of Rav Ashlag on the words of the Ari. However, Or Pnimi literally means inner light. Inner light. What is a commentary? Really, what's a commentary? It's taking a certain sentence that was said by another individual and showing you what is contained within that sentence. All of the meaning, all of the depth, all of the inner light, the Or Pnimi, that is contained within seemingly a simple sentence. So that's what Rav Ashlag has struggled to do in this Sefer that he wrote, which, again, I'm going to say it over and over again, is a great big ladder for us that are in the lower dimensions to climb our way to the Tree of Life consciousness. What is the Tree of Life consciousness? It is a mindset which is one with the Creator. A mindset that understands that everything that we are doing in this lowly physical world has the potential to elevate sparks and purify the world and serve the Creator. And that's really the intention of learning this study. It's to accustom ourselves to this mindset, that we are not a taker in this relationship with Hashem, but rather we are serving God, which means that we are actually giving to God. And what are we giving? What can we possibly give? And this is the secret of Nachat Ruach, that we can give spiritual pleasure in the upper worlds because every single spark of light that we are successful in revealing in this lowly world amplifies the joy and the simcha of the upper worlds. And it lessens the tsar of the Shekhinah, the pain, the suffering, the mourning of the Shekhinah over her children that are in exile. In fact, God experiences the suffering, but so does the souls of Israel. All of the souls of Israel experience this suffering because the Shekhinah is the Knesset Yisrael. It's the congregation of Israel. It's one of the nicknames for the Shekhinah. Remember that the Shekhinah corresponds to Sefirat HaMalchut in Olam Atzilut. Just as a side point, that the Shekhinah is the Malchut of Atzilut. It's the Malchut of Shamayim, we say. The kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of the world of emanation. Again, the English translations will not do you much good, but let's get to the subject matter here. Ze shekatuv harav. And now we're going to explain what the Ari is saying. Vehine az tzamtzam et atzmo. The Ari says that the Ein Sof, the endless one, does a tzimtzum. In order to create the world, in order to truly initiate the process of engaging in a relationship, because Hashem, before the creation, was one. In what sense was he one? Not just in the sense that he was a oneness, but he was single. He was single. Single means that he was alone. It's very interesting to hear this type of language to describe God, because when we think of God, we think that God is perfect, and he is perfect. In fact, he is so perfect that he is unlike any other perfection which we may think exists in the world. But his type of perfection is not like the perfection that we're used to. His is absolute. There is no such perfection as the perfection of Hashem. So that's off the table. He is perfect. So what exactly was the problem? Was there a problem at all? Why did he create? Why did he create? And the answer is because just because you're perfect does not mean that you have all that you could. No, because you can still be lacking someone. And that's what Rabbi Manis Friedman says from Chabad. He says that God, before the creation, was Yachid. He was single. And he wants to become Echad. Echad means one in the sense of oneness, which incorporates another in that relationship. The concept of another did not exist before the tzimtzum, before the contraction, because before the contraction there was nothing besides the endless light. And the endless light is completely even and equal. There is no perception of a vessel in such a reality. No perception of a vessel. The only thing that exists in that reality is everything, but in its complete and perfected version, called the Or Ein Sof, or Pashut. It's simple. It's a simple light. You cannot differentiate, you cannot discern any differences. No, there's only one thing that exists there, and that's the endless light. It's single. But after the Tzimtzum, what happened is that a new reality was created, if you really think about it. Because whenever the light departs from the Nekudah Emsayit, when the light exits the vessel, leaving an empty space, a void, where the light once occupied, that void is a new reality which never existed. There was no such thing as a lack before the Tzimtzum. There was no such thing as a chisaron, a makom panui, a halal. There was no such thing as a void, a lack, a deficiency. Because the light filled everything before the Tzimtzum. But after the Tzimtzum, meaning after the withdrawal of the light from the central point of Ein Sof, from the Nekudah Emsayit, the Malchut Shel Ein Sof, the Kli Shel Ein Sof, what remained in the Kli was empty space. Makom panui, which didn't exist before the Tzimtzum. And it is within this new reality, this empty space, that Hashem emanates a line of light, what we call kav, a line of light. Why is it a line of light? Because the creation has a purpose. There's a plan. And the plan, having a plan means that there is a specific pathway that you need to take in order to achieve that goal. If there is a goal to the creation, then that means that there is a specific pathway wherein which if you follow that pathway, you will achieve the goal. And for that reason, it's a line. A line implies that you are narrowing in. You are deciding the limits and the boundaries and the rules of how to achieve whatever goal it is. That's the difference between a circle and a line. Before the Tzimtzum, the only thing that existed was the Or Ein Sof. And the Or Ein Sof is igulim, is lights that are circular, which means that there is no specifications. There are no, what's the word to use? Restrictions, right? Because the light filled everything. So there was no specifications, there were no boundaries, there were no limitations. No. But after the Tzimtzum, whenever the empty space was formed, after the withdrawal of the light from Nekudah Emsayit, in order to actually facilitate the creation, Hashem needs to now reintroduce the light of Ein Sof, the Or Ein Sof, into the empty space. However, it needs to be in a specific way where the empty space does not become completely occupied with the light again. Because if it becomes completely occupied with the light again, then everything will revert to the way it was before the Tzimtzum. In which case, the Tzimtzum was useless. Why did he contract if we're going to just revert to the Ein Sof? No, the goal is not to undo the Tzimtzum. That's not the goal of creation, to undo what was done through the contraction. No. If you undo the contraction, then you cease to exist. Everything ceases to exist, and it goes back to the way it was before the creation. And that's not the goal. That's not what Hashem wants. That's why he contracted in the first place. Otherwise, why bother to contract? And this is why Judaism, why the Torah is bringing us a specific pathway forward, because the Creator has a plan for the creation. This is the main point that sets Judaism aside, or not Judaism, but the Torah aside from every religion, is that it's concerned with what Hashem wants. What does Hashem want? Rabbi Manis Friedman would say, what does Hashem need? Because the Arizal explains in his Sefarim And I'm going to put the verse on the screen if I can manage to find it. I read it somewhere in the Ein Sof Learning by Rabbi Yaakov Abuchatzera, that the Arizal actually writes explicitly that the Elyonim tzerichim hatachtonim, that the upper ones need the lower ones. Why do the upper ones need the lower ones? Because the upper ones do not have the ability to act. They don't have the power of action. And there is no way to serve Hashem except through action. This is the only world where creatures are able to actually serve their Creator. In the upper worlds, it's as though Hashem is serving you. Because in the upper worlds, it's a world of godliness, just light, where the tzaddikim, the righteous souls, are basking in their spiritual reward that they have earned through their work here. After they finish their tikkun, they go upstairs and they wait there until we finish the job down here. And once we finish the job down here, then they become resurrected along with us in this physical world, thus elevating it to a higher consciousness. But that's a separate subject. But just for you to understand that it is only in the physical world that we can serve the Creator. And that's where we want to be. That's where we want to be. If the goal is to get to heaven, then we should all die right now, God forbid. Because you have to die to get to heaven, right? If that's the understanding of heaven that we have, then I don't want to insult anybody, but it demonstrates an immaturity, a certain level of lack of understanding. Because heaven is not up there. If heaven was up somewhere in the sky, not really in the sky, in the spiritual sense, up in the higher dimensions, then we should all be chasing after it, which you have to die, because up there is not down here. Therefore, you got to leave the body behind and go to heaven up there. But that's not where really heaven is. Heaven may be up in the sense of dimensions. It may be located in the higher dimensions. However, the future world, what we call Olam Haba, is when the Shamayim and the Haaretz will unite. Meaning this physical world has the potential to be incorporated not only as one of the spiritual worlds, but once we reveal the light in this physical world, it will shoot to the top of the hierarchy in terms of the chain of consciousness. And it will be considered the highest world, the most holiest dimension out of all of the dimensions that exist in the entire system of the cosmos. This lowly, physical, impure world will become the highest spiritual crown in the entire order of the cosmos. That's what we're dealing with here. Just to give you an idea of the severity and the urgency of the plan of Hashem, which is slowly coming to its fruition, quickly coming to its fruition, because every single day that passes, the time limit is becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. The clock is ticking faster and faster, because the tikkun of the olam, must take place within the next 214 years, according to the Jewish calendar. According to the Jewish calendar, there is a time limit upon which the Mashiach, the anointed one, which will come to declare the end of the exile and the redemption of the Jewish people, as well as the righteous Gentiles, will take place. There is a time limit to this event. So we might as well do our work, become the example that everybody needs to see in this world today, as it is darker than it's ever been. However, the potential for light is greater than it has ever been. And therefore, those who are willing to do what it takes to follow this narrow path that we've been explaining this entire time, there is a very narrow line of light, a small opening, a small crack of light in this world of choshech, this world of darkness, that you just have to creak your way in to that crack. And if you make that crack somewhat open, you will see the light. And all of this darkness that you perceive today will disappear. It will go back to where it came from, which is nothing. And then you will be able to perceive not only the light of Hashem, the goodness of God in your life, but you will also be able to feel it, because you will have revealed the Shekhinah within your heart. The Shekhinah is the divine presence. And we are a vessel, we are a mishkan, a temple that is looking to receive the divine presence. The same way that the holy temple in Jerusalem was the home of God, our hearts are the home of our individualized portion of godliness, what we call our soul. The nefesh is in the liver, the ruach is in the heart, and the neshama is in the mind. And these three levels of the soul are holy. They are kedoshim. They are part of Hashem. They are chelek Eloha mima'al. They are a part of God above, as comes from the verse of Eov, the book of Job. So we have to take this very seriously. To purify our vessel means that we are following the mitzvot of the Torah, both the positive commandments and the negative commandments. If you do not do the mitzvot, if you do not perform them on the physical level, then you are not connecting to Jack. Excuse my language. You are just not doing anything. You think you're doing something because you're learning all this Torah. You may even be feeling many emotions. But until you don't do, you're not actually making the impact according to its highest potential. And therefore, you're wasting time. Quite frankly, wasting time. If you're always doing the mind and the heart and you're never taking care of the body, unfortunately, you are not actually engaging in the tikkun. The tikkun is for the body, meaning the heart. Yes, the emotions are part of the tikkun, because the emotions will eventually lead to action. But again, if you put off and you intentionally avoid the action, which means the observance, the physical observance of the commandments and the instructions of the Torah. For example, if you're Jewish, to wrap tefillin every single morning. No, don't be a wishy-washy person. If you're committed to connect to God, then do it. Show Him that you are committed by doing those things that you are learning. Because it's not enough to learn Torah. Although learning Torah is equal to everything, it's equal to all of the work that we have to do. You have to actually manifest those teachings that you've learned and demonstrate that you have actually learned those lessons by doing what you say, by practicing what you preach. That's the main idea. Now let's get to the Rav. He says, V'zeh katuv harav. This is what the Arizal said when he said that the Ein Sof contracted himself. Ki kvar nitba'er shekol midat shefa'o ve'oro ve'shiur komato shel hanetzal nimdadim b'shiur haratzon lekabel sheyesh bo. So he is explaining here that the entire measure of the abundance and the light and the measure of the stature of the emanated thing, the netzal, is measured by the amount of the desire to receive that exists within it. One more time, because I know that was a mouthful. The measure of the light that the vessel is able to receive depends on the amount of desire to receive that exists within the vessel. Meaning, the size of your desire dictates your potential. People ask all the time, I want to know what my potential is. How close can I become to the Creator? And what's the answer according to Kabbalah? As much as you want. Very simple. As much as you want. But it's not just a want. It's not just a preference, an inclination. No. We're dealing here with the deepest level of desire called hishtokekut. Hishtokekut means yearning, longing, dying over your desire to connect to Hashem. That's what we read every single time we say the Shema Yisrael. You're supposed to meditate on the 4 forms of self-sacrifice. You're willing to give up your life through fire, through stoning, through suffocation, and through drowning. These are 4 methods of dying in the Torah. This is biblical. This has nothing to do with rabbinic law. This is biblical. So, what does that mean exactly? Am I supposed to physically throw myself into a physical fire? No. And if you do that, you're committing a grave sin called suicide. So what really does it mean to sacrifice yourself? We said in many of these classes, not just in this series, but in the channel in general, what really is the substance of the vessel? What's the substance of the vessel? What's the building block of the vessel that's capable of receiving the light, receiving the soul, really? And the answer is Ratzon lekabel. Full stop. Period. That is the building block of the vessel, the desire to receive. You've got to have the desire to receive. That's the vessel's measurement of how much light it can receive. Depends on how much desire there is. So for that reason, if a person has a small amount of ratzon, they don't have much motivation for life in general, or they don't have much motivation, not because they lack the motivation, but because for whatever reason, they haven't yet discovered their passion. They haven't yet discovered their pathway. Could be because they're avoiding it. Could be because that they are distracting themselves with external pleasures and momentary satisfactions. And now they live a life of lies. A life of complete falsehood, vanities. Chasing after money, momentary satisfaction, a job, even a family. But for what? If it's not to serve Hashem, if it's not to give nachat ruach, spiritual pleasure to the Creator, then what for? If not for the greater good, if not to reduce the suffering of the divine presence and the spiritual aspect of all of our lives, because we all suffer when we're not able to connect to the truth. The soul suffers when it's not able to express itself, when it's not able to reveal itself in the body. What greater cause is there to be a part of than this? And if not for this, then for what? For your body? Are you serious? You're going to go that low to serve your body? Not only is that idol worshipping, put that to the side. The body is the most impure aspect. There's nothing more impure. That's Egypt. That is Egypt. It is purely the desire to receive for the self. It's evil. I know it sounds kind of judgmental. We're judging the body so much. No, it's not a matter of judging the body. It's a matter of knowing right from wrong, good from bad, pure from impure. You have to set the distinction between what's pure and what's impure. Hamavdil bein kodesh lechol, bein or lechoshech. The Shabbat, the Sheshet Yemei HaMaaseh. You've got to differentiate between the impure and the pure, the holy and the unholy. The what do we say? The Shabbat and the 6 days of the week. That's why we observe Shabbat, because there is a distinction between these two groups. Shabbat is holy. It's sanctified. It's blessed, because that's the source of all blessings and holiness. That's where the Jewish people get their holiness from. It's from Shabbat, because there's a certain portal of consciousness that opens up on the Shabbat, which gives the Jewish people their koach for the following week. Only for those that connect to the Shabbat. For those who truly keep Shabbat. Not just that they don't break the laws, but those who experience the extra soul. So we have to set the distinctions. The body is driven by the heart. Very simple. The heart actually controls all of the limbs and the organs within the body. You cannot move any of your limbs or organs unless the heart agrees. You can't move, you can't walk, you can't look somewhere unless the heart actually agrees. That's why the action is so important. Because the best indicator of where your heart really is in the way you live your life, physically. Action. What do you do? Not only is that a good indicator of what you believe deep down within you, but that is a good indicator of what you believe on the external as well. Meaning you have integrated your internal and your external expressions. That's called integrity. That's called temimut. Temimut means to integrate mind, heart, and body. That's temimut. Corresponds to Sefirat HaHod on the tree of life, the dimension called Hod. Because we know that each of the lower 7 Sefirot corresponds to one attribute. Chesed is love of God. Gevura is fear of God. Tiferet is yichud, which means oneness, unity with God. Netzach is bitachon, trust in God. Hod is temimut, integrity, simplicity. And then there's Yesod, which is Emet. Emet means truth. The Torah should be the foundation of your life. And then Malchut is Shaflut. Shaflut means lowliness, where you allow yourself to be a vessel of receiving the light to work through you. Not to just receive the light as a dead end, because that would be receiving for the self. That's what it goes to the body. If it goes to the body, then that's called receiving for the self. But if you're using the body, but it's not for the sake of the body, you got to use the body to serve Hashem for the proper intention of giving back to the Creator, then you have purified your body to a degree. You have elevated yourself. Then you can say that it's going to the greater good, the selfless intention. And to demonstrate this point, let's continue from the Hakdama of Talmud Eser Sefirot. Sorry, I know we're jumping around, but there's just so much to discuss. Ma nishtana chokhmat haTorah misha'ar chokhmot ha'olam she'enan tzrichut lesigufim halelu ulechayei tzar ela ha'amal labad mafsik legamrei bechokhmot halelu lezakot bahen. He's saying, what differentiates the wisdom of the Torah from the rest of the wisdoms in the world, where they don't require such restriction for a person to take upon themselves so much suffering? Because my body takes a lot of pleasure from the things I do during the day. And now I'm being asked to restrict those bodily pleasures. I'm being asked to desist from receiving for the self alone. I'm not used to that. My whole life, I've been used to receiving for myself. Especially up until 13 years. Up until 13 years old, you're purely desired to receive for the self. You don't know anything about giving. But the moment you turn 13, your Yetzer HaTov, your good inclination, becomes activated within you, because you begin receiving from the influence of your Ruach. For 7 years, up until you turn 20 years old, that's when the Ruach has really begun to kick in within you, in a real way. Up until 13, you're dealing with Nefesh. Up until the age of 20, you're dealing with Ruach. And up until 40, you're dealing with Neshama. That's why a lot of the mystics passed away before the year 40, the age of 40, because had they reached the age of 40, their Neshama would become activated within them, which is too much light for this world. Too much light. Meaning, we don't have the vessel in this world to sustain the lights of the Neshamas of these righteous individuals. They were too high compared to the lowliness of this world. It would be the light of Mashiach. That's the light of Mashiach. Whenever the collective souls of not just those righteous individuals, but all of the individuals will be able to reveal themselves within the body. That's Mashiach. It's not time yet for Mashiach. If it was, then they would have brought Mashiach. You understand? So the fact that they didn't bring Mashiach means that yes, they were very holy souls, they were very righteous, but it wasn't time. Mashiach hasn't come yet. It's not time yet. We still have work to do. We should actually give a great thank you to these tzaddikim for extending the amount of time. Right? They were trying to bring it sooner, but what happened was, it wasn't ready. We weren't ready. And so we were given rachamim. Rachamim is mercy. They aroused such a tremendous amount of mercy, divine mercy on the world, which allowed us more time to do teshuvah. So, in fact, we give them a big thank you for arousing that divine mercy, which gives us more time. Because had Mashiach come, if Mashiach were to come tomorrow, I don't know about you, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And being ready is a consciousness type thing. It's not a matter of, it's a mindset. Are you capable of withstanding the time of Mashiach? The light which will be available. Are you able to truly receive that blessing? You won't even be able to perceive it. Your vessel's too small. You can't even experience. You can't even perceive or receive, because you can't receive, so you can't perceive. If you cannot receive, then you cannot perceive. That's what a vessel is. A vessel is a sense. My eyes are vessels which allow me to see. The power of vision. My ears, they are vessels which carry the power of hearing. It picks up on sound waves. There's light waves, there's sound waves. There's chemicals in the taste buds. In the food, which my taste buds pick up. That's another vessel. My nose is another vessel. All the different aromas in the world. My nose is able to be receptive and perceptive to those senses. Because whatever it is you're able to perceive, that is the power of the vessel. The extent to which it's able to perceive is what it's able to receive. Like a radio signal. Whatever the radio can receive is what it's capable to perceive. That's why we got to build the vessel. So, what differentiates the wisdom of Chokhmat HaKabbalah from the rest of the wisdoms? In short, the answer is, let's just read it. Chokhmat HaTorah, af al pi she'anu amilim ba b'midah rabah, although we exert ourselves in Torah so much, adayin eino mafsik lezakot ba, but it's not enough to attain the Torah by just toiling in it. Now he's going to give us the secret. It's not enough to just learn Torah. Zulat al yedei hasigufim shel pet b'malach, etc. He's saying it has to be done through a life of suffering, not intentionally bringing upon yourself afflictions and whipping yourself, God forbid. That's not the way that Hashem wants. That's not the way that Chokhmat HaKabbalah asks. Although it is a thing, some Kabbalists, they roll around in the snow. It's called the snow mikveh. You know, there's mikveh of water where you submerge yourself at least 3 times in a body of fresh water. And that's called purifying yourself, cleansing yourself of spiritual impurity. Of course, you need a certain intention, kavanah, for it. It's not just a physical act. But then there's also another type of mikveh, which is when you roll around in the snow. And the snow, of course, is very painful, so cold. So in a certain sense, there are mikubalim, there are Kabbalists, mystics, which recognize that they're only able to attain certain heights if they were to take upon themselves, voluntarily, certain pains or challenges. But that doesn't mean that we have to go roll around in snow and whip ourselves and hurt ourselves. That's not what Hashem really wants. He wants us to come close to Him through the tests and trials which are already available in front of our face right now. You don't have to bring upon yourself more pain and more trouble. We've got plenty to deal with already. Okay, then once you deal with those, okay, maybe you can take a fast. Maybe you want to take the longer route next time that you go to synagogue because it shows more desire, it shows more determination and ratzon. You want God and you're willing to work for it. You're demonstrating it to Him by doing the actions. So okay, maybe there's room for it whenever you are able to deal with the challenges that you already have. But for now, deal with the challenges you already have. And he says, Al yedei hasigufim. It's specifically through these challenges. Shel hadvarim mifla od yoter. And then you're able to attain more. So in our own level, we have to restrict our bodily temptations for men, to masturbate, to waste seed. Yes, it's a tremendous pleasure, but it doesn't last. And it makes you more miserable in the long run. And it makes your mind accustomed to the wrong type of neural pathways. Every time that you engage in that act, you're reinforcing the same negative behavior and the same negative consciousness within you of a receiver, of a vessel that is in it for itself. Every time that you engage in that action, you are harming yourself, and we don't know how bad is bad until we see the consequences of our actions later in life, when it's too late, God forbid. When you no longer have the willpower to even do that sin anymore, which means you have no longer the chance to rectify it. Because in so long as you have that temptation to sin and you restrict it, you are actually purifying your vessel, your body. You're doing the work. You're doing the teshuvah. If you're capable of holding off and replacing it with the proper thing, with the good thing. Because it's not enough to just stop doing the wrong thing. You have to replace it with doing the good thing. But if you push off this process until you turn 70 years old, 80 years old, when you don't have the power and the desire to commit those sins anymore because you've become an old man or old woman who lacks motivation. It's natural. It comes with time, comes with age. Guess what? You just missed your opportunity to do teshuvah. Congratulations. You put it off until your later years where your koach, your level of power, is much less. And therefore, you're not able to restrict those temptations anymore, which is necessary in order to do teshuvah. Just think about that. There's plenty of people in those situations right now. Do you want to be one of them? And so, the younger you are, the better. This wisdom should be learned from the moment you're born. If you ask me, from the moment you're born. Of course, according to your capacity. The same way we teach people in preschool and kindergarten about the ABCs, and we teach them 1 + 1, it should be a common knowledge, in my opinion, for Jewish individuals that are motivated to serve Hashem, whose families are on this derech, to engage in this wisdom. Obligated. Obligated. It's not obligated in the same way for the world at large, for the nations of the world. They have their own responsibilities. Yes, they will benefit tremendously from this wisdom as well. But as long as they're able to use this wisdom in their service of God through their own way, because the way of the Gentile is different than the way of the Jew. We have to establish this fact once and for all. There is a difference. It does not mean superiority, inferiority. There shouldn't be any jealousy or entitlement on either side. We are not enemies. We are not at war. The war is within. The war is not out here. And we need to put our differences aside. Everybody serves Hashem. Doesn't matter, you're Jewish, you're not Jewish, you're a man, you're a woman, you're young, you're old. It does not matter your race, your religion, your gender, your ethnicity. Everybody can serve Hashem in their own way. And we have to embrace our own path. And stop comparing my path to your path, to his path to her path. There is no comparing. That's called judgment. That's called din. You're causing an intensification of the darkness in the world every time you judge, every time you be jealous. You're increasing the judgment of God upon you. In fact, it is coming upon you. You're bringing judgment in your own life by judging other people, by being jealous, by comparing. So why do that? Why hurt yourself? So that's what I've got in store for you today. Appreciate you continuing in this series. If you're actually here and watching this at this point, I commend you 1,000-fold. You are very rare. Whether you're Jewish or not Jewish, especially if you're not Jewish. If you're not Jewish and you're watching this right now, I have no words. Truly. You are the fruit of God's planting. Every single non-Jew. Now, if you're Jewish and watching this, I tell you, welcome. It's been long awaited. We've been waiting for you. This is the path forward for Israel. Israel is Yashar El, straight to God. Meaning, it's obligated for you. It's not obligated for the world, for the nations of the world. It's obligated for you because it's your responsibility to embody these teachings and be an image of God. The same way that you are an image of God. You're made in the image of God. You've got to act like the image of God in order to influence the nations of the world to come close as well. That's your responsibility, not theirs. That's why we have to recognize the difference, but embrace our individual paths. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you learned something. If you did, of course, share with your friends, loved ones. Comment your questions in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey everybody, thanks for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't be afraid to share this video with your loved ones, as we know that we are trying to reach as many souls as we possibly can with the wisdom of the Torah, specifically its inner dimensions called Kabbalah, which is the mystical secrets that are contained within God's holy Torah. And I invite you to join me on this effort to spreading this wisdom to the four corners of the world so we can prepare for what we've all been waiting for, the final redemption, where Israel will be redeemed along with the righteous Gentiles.